We begin today's recording by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are on. I am on Burrawang land. Where are you, Breezer?
I am on the land of the Djajarurrung people.
We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are tuning in today.
And wherever you're listening to the potty today, make sure you know whose land you're on. Join us each week for some booze-free banter about life without booze.
If you're entertaining cutting back your booze by a day, a week, a month, or for the rest of your life, we would love for you to tune in.
Buckle up and come along for a ride that may just change your life. Just a heads up, some of the conversations we have may be triggering. Reach out to your local support centre in Australia. That's Lifeline 131144.
Hey everybody, Eric here, your friendly neighborhood podcast producer with a reminder to use code BFB10 for 10% off all things at altinadrinks.com. Altina offers alcohol-free drinking options that not only taste great, but also don't have any sugar. Naturally sourced, Australian-made, stylish, fun, interesting, and accessible with their zero-proof, non-alcoholic craft wines and alcohol-free products. So what are you waiting for? This is a discount code exclusive to you listening to this right now. Don't forget, BFB10, 10% off, altinadrinks.com.
A big, warm, booze-free Bants buddies, welcome to Cathy O'Brien. She is the social words at Mamma Mia. She's a passionate about alcohol-free living and she's a mental health advocate. And we are just so excited to have you chat to us today, Cathy. Welcome.
Hi, how you going, girls?
Welcome, Cathy. We're great. How are you?
Yeah, cold. I'm sitting here in a T-shirt. I don't know why. I've got the heater cranking behind me.
And I'm like mega
freezing.
Well, Cathy, we came across your articles on Mamma Mia, and also you've done articles with the Kids Spot as well, with news.com.au, and also the Mighty is the other one that you sent across to,
and Body and Soul as well.
Amazing.
Nice. Just chuck that one in there.
Yeah. Sorry, you're across the border, and also we listened to your podcast you did on the Quickie as well. So you've been off the booze for a while. You've heard the podcast. We're going to show you straight into it, to our new segment. It was called Shame Story, but it's now Confession Session. Let's hit it.
Confession Session. It's time to play. Where you tell us what you're ashamed to say.
Oh, geez. I was really trying to think about this because it's been quite a while since I've had a drink, and even when I was drinking before, like between sort of while I was in that grey area drinking, I guess, I wasn't really getting that boozy. But I guess for me, it's kind of, when I started drinking, like I was drinking sort of 15-ish. Sorry, Mum, if you decide to listen. It wasn't, I think we all know it wasn't 18.
Yeah.
But, it was younger than you thought. And really it was just the traditional boozy, stupid stuff, like risk-taking behaviours to the extreme that I cringe at the thought of my kids, doing. Like I think of one night I walked home from the cross in Sydney, and I walked along past St Vincent's Hospital to my girlfriend's place in Centennial Park. And I didn't think anything of it. Like, I didn't think of how dangerous that was or anything like that. I had no money, because I drunk it all. Like, I was off my scone. And what I know now, and I'm sure I knew it then, but that was like where all the that was where the wall is. Like, if you know Sydney at all, it's where the very young, or I think they may have cleaned it up a bit now, but it's where the young male prostitutes used to hang out. It was not a very nice place of Sydney and Darlinghurst.
Seedy?
Very, very seedy and risky, like stupid. Like, who walks by themselves in the middle of the night? But I used to do that stuff all the time because I'd drunk all my money. So, another time, walked from Cronulla to my parents' home in Janey, which is like, I don't know, 15-kilometre walk, because I'd rather drink my money for the taxi. And we would deliberately not drive. So there was no car there. So we couldn't drive home drunk, because I'm sure we would have. There was definitely one night that one of my girlfriends had said, I'll drive. And she was driving my parents' car, but she proceeded to get more drunk than me. And I'm like, well, if anyone's going to crash my parents' car, it's going to be me. And then got home the next morning and I was like, how the fuck did we get home? Like, you know, so I grew up in like the late 80s, 90s. So I did a lot of my drinking when it was pretty easy to get into nightclubs without with fake ID, because we literally had paper licenses. So there was no photo that they attached to anything. And, you know, the bouncers might have asked you a couple of questions, but you only needed to remember, oh, yeah, she's a Virgo because she's born in September, or some stupid thing like that.
Did you ever used to like recite it before you went out, Cathy? I know I used to. I'd practice. I'd get my friends to ask me questions like, what's my birthday? What's my star sign?
But the stupidest part was we would be standing in line one after the other and we all had the same freaking ID and they still let us in. Like, come on in, girls.
Good old times.
I used to dance on the bar, and that's a famous story in the family, that I used to get up on the bar at Miranda Hotel, the local, and drink and dance on the bar because I was pissed. You know, like, I mean, when I used to go out, we used to be able to, like, it was $20 cover entry, and then all you could drink, like literally all you could drink. And there was layback chairs or dollar drink nights and no RSA. Like for $20, dollar drink nights, you go in, you get 20 drinks. Now, I'm a little bit bigger than I was then, but I was still only 5'4" and, you know, 65 kilos ringing wet. 20 drinks in me. You know.
Going back to that car story. Sorry, Cath. Did you drive your parents' car home?
Yeah. I drove, like, because I decided that if anyone was going to crash it, it was going to be me. It wasn't going to be my friend. Like,
but even that thought, okay, we're probably going to crash. Like, even that thought that you've penciled that in. So, you know, that's how crazy the alcohol, you know, wipes out your thought process and making poor decisions. And
the decision making, you know, all the risk taking behaviours, you know, like leaving with blokes I didn't know, I mean, countless times. And I went to uni late, like after so I worked in sales and marketing and advertising, heady days of advertising in the 90s, all those stories, they're all true. Lots of booze. And then I was engaged to a guy and he died suddenly, and then I went to uni. And when I was 28 when I went to uni, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, 10 years older than all the kids on campus, but I thought it'd be really cool if, you know, I flashed my tits all the time. So I just used to, so my nickname on campus was Buzzies because I was flashing my bosoms. And I didn't know, and this one day, and this is probably, you know, up there, one day I'd been drinking, I managed to convince my now husband to come pick me up from Strathfield, which is the other side of Sydney to where we lived. And someone screamed out, "Hey, Cath, show us your tits." So I've gone like this, and he's standing behind me. I didn't know. And I tried to pretend that I was this really wholesome, lovely girl that didn't do these things. And he
was probably thinking, we're on here. We are on.
Well, he was thinking, why isn't she flashing her tits for me?
Cats out of the bag or tits out of the top.
Yeah, that's right.
So then... Oh, go. Sorry.
I was going to say, you're not doing that stuff sober, are you? Unless
no.
Cathy, are you doing that stuff sober?
No.
Buzzies, get him out there.
Not at all.
So then diving straight into the hard stuff first, Cathy, obviously the articles, which we will actually put in our link on the bio so you can deep dive into those as well. You talked about swapping drinking or drinking your way through emotions to spending. Can you tell us what that looked like?
Yeah, so I'll quickly say why I stopped drinking, which was that I had a growth on my liver, and that caused me to, my body was rejecting alcohol because I had really hit it hard for over a decade. Like,
how old are you at this point, Cathy? How old were you then?
My early 30s.
Okay.
Early 30s, yeah. So 15 years I've been hitting it pretty hard.
Yep.
And I also come from a long line of addicts, different types of addiction. But, yeah, so we have a family genetic predisposition to addiction, let's just say. So, you know, some people are gamblers, some people are alcoholics, some people, I know there's been some drugs in the family, you know, and I dabbled in all of I didn't gamble, it bored the shit out of me, but dabbled in everything, you know, sex, the whole lot, you know, the whole gamut of everything. And so then my body started to reject alcohol. I would have one drink and I'd be violently ill. And so then we found out that I had this growth in my liver. They took that off. Then I could drink again. So I would have one or two drinks. And I never really thought that I had a problem with alcohol, because when you grow up in the era that I grew up in, that's what everyone did. My cousins were footballers. They played first grade footy. All of our friends were first grade footy players. We all got pissed, you know, like that's
normalized.
What you did.
Yeah.
Very, very normalised. And if you didn't drink, that was
what's wrong with you?
Yeah. And even like deso drivers, you know, like, you'll be right, just have a couple of drinks, you won't get caught. And somehow we thought that was, you know, anyway. So fast forward, my body started to reject alcohol again. So, but while I was in that kind of grey area period, my husband was a shift worker. He worked for Qantas. He worked in Sydney. I had 3 little kids, and we lived in Wollongong, and I would often be at home by myself, and I'd be like, I'm not really drinking alone because I've got the 3 kids at home. So I'm not alone. Like,
got a party.
Oh,
crew.
Of course you're alone.
Rent a crowd.
And would I have been able to, was I pissed and did I wake up with a hangover? No, but would I have been able to have driven them to the hospital if something had happened? Probably not.
Yep.
So fortunately, my body started to reject the alcohol again. And that's when I sort of was like, I can't drink anymore because I just get so ill.
How many years ago was that?
So that was that was 2012. So that was kind of when I sort of stopped drinking, was really because, not because I didn't want to, I wanted to drink. I wanted to drink. And I want to drink every day.
What was your drinking choice, just out of curiosity? I'm always curious.
Look, poison. It depended on the time. Like sometimes if I was up for a cocktail, look, I love my 80s cocktails, my illusions, my fruit tingles. My fruit tingles, my illusions, my shots.
Honey bananas,
cocksucking cowboys.
Or sex on the beach. Or and I used to love going up to the bar. Yep. Like, can I have a cocksucking cowboy? You know, like, because we thought that it was like being so cool.
Yeah.
Like, but really all I was doing was just getting shit-faced, and the bartenders were just laughing at me. And so at home, I found a photo in my phone. I don't know why. I had a photo of a Midorian lemonade, drinking Midori. I know, like, but that was what I would drink because it's so sweet and easy to drink.
Yeah,
like
totally.
It's just easy to
summer drink.
Knock back a couple of them. Yeah, knock back a couple of them, and you're sitting at home, kids are asleep, have a couple of
Happy
Midoris,
days.
go to bed, sleep better.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I really did sleep better, but I probably slept heavier.
Mhm.
And then my body said, hey, enough's enough. No more alcohol. And this is after years of going, every time I go to the doctors, because I was unwell, I'd go to the doctors and I have to take my husband with me because they'd be like, is she an alcoholic? Because the blood tests are saying she's an alcoholic. And he's like, no, she doesn't drink. She might have one drink, but she doesn't drink. She doesn't drink. And my blood tests still say, like when I get a blood test, they still say I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah,
and I go, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink.
What shows up in the blood test? Sorry, I don't know.
So there's a liver enzyme that shows up. Yeah. And when you've done that permanent damage to your liver.
Right.
So, yeah, I have permanent liver damage.
So the doctor's saying that it's permanent damage caused from alcohol?
Well, yeah, they're pretty sure it's, yeah. And it's just like, I'm just one of those lucky ones.
Yeah,
but, you give it up and, yeah.
Oh, heck.
So, yeah, so I gave up the booze, but I didn't really give up the booze, if that makes sense. Like I didn't give it, it wasn't a conscious choice. It wasn't like, okay, today's my last drink. It's, New Year's Day or it's my birthday or it's whatever. I'm not going to drink and I'm going to do my 12 steps or I'm going to do all of these things. Initially, I gave up the booze because I couldn't drink. I physically couldn't tolerate it. But I still had all those shitty emotions that were ruminating through my head that didn't go anywhere, that needed to be fed. Like there was still that. It's like, you're still a shit person. No one likes you. You're horrible to be around. You're a failure at everything. You went to uni. You've got a double degree, but Jesus, you don't work as a teacher. How useless are you? You're failing with the kids. You're a terrible wife. You're a terrible friend. All of this shit that goes through your head and these patterns of behaviours. And, like everybody, we were all, I don't think there was one single person that can honestly say they went through school and they weren't bullied. I was bullied as a kid, and that kind of set up these people-pleasing behaviours because I just wanted to be liked. I just so desperately wanted to be liked and to fit in. And so whatever I had to do to be liked and fit in, that's what I did. I was a bit of a chameleon, and so if that was when I was hanging out with the footy players, getting really, really pissed and just being a fun girl, then that's what it was. Or if it was, whatever, if I thought, oh, my mate's really sad, oh, they must need a bunch of flowers, so I'll buy them a bunch of flowers or, whatever it was. And so I never dealt with the shit that was going on in my head. And that was all still there. So while I'd given up the booze, I hadn't dealt with any of the reasons that I'd given up the booze. Lots of people get to rock bottom and go, oh, I need to give up the booze because of this, or I need to do my 12 steps, or I need to make amends, or I need to do all of these things. I didn't do any of that. Then there's this chunk of time where I can only sort of really talk about that. These are the memories that other people have filled in for me, because between sort of May 2012 and late 2016, early 2017, I don't have any solid, firm memories that I can hold on to and say these are my memories. I have lots of photos from that period of time that I can look at and go, oh, look, we went to Disneyland, but I don't remember going to Disneyland. And that was this period of time, and I've done a lot of work with my psych team now, where I was dissociating from my life. I was dissociating from everything because I couldn't cope.
So this is after there's no alcohol being removed.
No
at
alcohol.
Stage, and then you're going through this
removed.
Disassociation
from life, really, and that's when I was spending, and I would And it wasn't like I wasn't buying big stuff, like there's nothing to show for it, let me tell you, and when my dad and when my dad and my husband went through the bank statements, they're like, the fuck has she spent all this money on?
God.
And it was just stuff, like it was just life. It was just like, maybe the kids needed some new clothes, or I always wanted to be that hostess with the mostess, or, saw someone going through a tough time, so I'd buy them something, or and in my head, what I understand now with all the work I've done, my brain was saying, if I buy them a present, they'll like me. If I buy them this, they'll want me around. I'll still be that fun person.
Did you buy stuff for yourself, Cath? Were you training yourself as well? No, you were literally
not really.
buying
It was just
others.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was just, all I did was swap one addiction for another addiction.
Which you do often hear that can happen.
Yeah, because it wasn't a choice to give up the booze, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was taken away from you.
Yeah, and I didn't really go through the 12 steps or any of those things that lots of people do. So, yeah.
Wow, Cath, that's a lot to go through. So thank you for sharing that. I'm really interested though, during that, you think you said from 2012 to 2017, what were the warning signs to your husband? Like, who sort of caught you? Like, who sort of
how did they find out?
Yeah. When I say caught you, I don't mean like caught you out. I mean like caught you before you really fell. So yeah, how did that unfold?
They didn't.
No, they didn't.
No one did. I just wore the mask of I just pretended to the world that everything was fine, that I had it all together, and I was the person that everyone turned to, like, if they needed help or shit was going down in their life, they would come to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't put my hand up at all at any time. And it wasn't until I literally collapsed, my body stopped functioning, and I couldn't use my left arm and I couldn't walk. And so they thought I'd had a stroke, was what I'm told. But what it actually is, it's a condition called functional neurological disorder, which is a big fancy name for basically my brain and my body disconnected and stopped talking to each other. And it was a protective mechanism, if you like. It was like my brain was like protecting, because I think if I look, when I look back over journals that I kept in that period of time, when after I went to hospital and when I was sort of in recovery, I guess, if you like, because I didn't know from day to day what was happening. So I would write everything down and then read it the next day. And then, so it was like 51st dates.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so no one really knew, because I hid it from everybody. And because I was just the master of disguise. But I was hiding it from myself too, though.
Yeah. So do you think that was always there, Cath, and that you were using booze to sort of medicate yourself?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Wow.
Absolutely it was, because, I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted to be liked. I just wanted to, and I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to let people down. And even now, like, that is, for me, the number one biggest fear that I have is that something I do is going to let someone else down. And where I fit in that doesn't factor in. And even like as recently as last week, there was I published something, or Mamma Mia published something for me about wearing my oxygen mask, and because I work in emergency services, and I wasn't putting my own oxygen mask on, and I was a mess and I was falling apart, and all I cared about was that if I'm not here, I'm letting everyone else down because there's no one else to do this job, because this person was on leave and this person was sick and this person and this person and this person. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at my desk and the tears are rolling down my face. I'm arguing with colleagues. So I was not the right person to be in that place at that time. But me, I didn't factor into that. All I cared about was that if I stepped out, I'd be letting people down. And so that is a really core belief in my head that I have to undo, because I need to be number one.
Yeah.
So that, because if I'm not number one, I'm still letting everyone down.
Yeah.
Like I can say it and I can verbalise it, and I know that if I'm not putting my own oxygen mask on and I'm not looking after myself, then I am letting everyone else down because I'm not my best self. But I will keep going until I literally collapse, because that's what I do.
God, that's a heavy load to carry, isn't it? Like, how exhausting, just feeling like letting people down. Just,
yeah.
I can't even begin to imagine that burden that you carry all the time on yourself to be.
Yeah.
That's exhausting. You poor
It is.
thing.
It is. And I wish that I could wave a magic wand and unwire my brain. That's what I work on with my mental health team all the time. But we can look back now, and we've done a lot of work, and we look back into, when I was a big boozy drinker and all of that risk-taking behaviour, and why did I do those things? And definitely I was an alcoholic. I just didn't know it. I just didn't realise, but there's still a lot of alcohol around me. I am okay with everyone else drinking. I just don't drink.
Yeah.
My son drinks, my husband drinks, my family drink, everybody drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was listening to Howie Games the other day and talking about professional athletes, how when they get out of their sport and move into whatever career it is, and they've often realised that the mental health issues that they've had bubbling along, but because they were, in these healthy sporting lifestyles, they never dealt with it. So I think we've all got something going on that we mask, whether it's by super healthy elite lifestyle or booze, to cover it up. And I just applaud you for you've done the work. You've removed the alcohol. Lots of people wouldn't do that. Like, they'd still continue on, spending or doing whatever they're doing. So well done, Cath. I think that's amazing. Yeah.
So it'll be 10 years this year.
Oh, that's a huge milestone.
Yeah.
Huge.
Well done.
Meso and I we're clocked over 12 months, haven't we, Meso?
Yeah, Breeze hasn't. Yeah.
We're both clocked over 12 months, but I still, and hopefully you can help me here, Cathy, I still get cravings. And I know you recently spoke about wanting to have a drink. Can you tell me what led you to wanting to have a drink and how you work through that, and give me some tools?
So for me, it was, I think, and I was just touching on it then, it was that moment at work where I just wasn't coping anymore, and I didn't know what else to do. It was like all my tools, I'd used all my tools in my toolbox.
Yeah.
The tears were flowing. And I just didn't care enough about myself anymore, and I just wanted to throw it all away. That was really the moment, I guess. It was self-destructive, and it was really a moment of, self-destruction rather than a craving because I wanted the taste of it. It was really just self-destruct. I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't breathing. I felt like I was letting everyone else down, so I might as well just have a drink. And one of my friends at work, they kind of jokingly said, "Oh, this place is enough to make you want to drink." And I said, "Actually, yeah, it is, and I think I'll go home and have a drink." And they said, "No, you won't. You will not go home and have a drink."
Go team.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
That's good.
So what did you do then? What did you do?
Oh, actually a lot of people called me and I just cried a lot. So
Okay.
yeah. So but other times it's I'm not going to lie, it's hard sometimes, when you come from a family of drinkers, and my in-laws all love a drink as well, and not my parents aren't, get pissed every night, and my brother, but family functions and things like that, bottle of wine, and sometimes I'm not going to lie, I feel left out because the amount of times that I go to nice restaurants, I'm paying good money for beautiful food. No, you can't bring in your non-alcoholic wine. It's like,
it's crazy, isn't it?
You get that it is, or we're a licensed restaurant. Yeah, I understand. This is not alcoholic.
And happy to pay a corkage fee as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to pay corkage. Oh, no. I'm happy to give you the money. You can go to the bottle-o, buy the bottle of wine, and I'll buy it back from you. Don't pay double for it.
Yeah.
No, we can't do that. So I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of times where I sit there and I think, I'll just have me little water with lemon because that's what you got on offer.
Do you think, Cath, if it wasn't for the health scare and if your health wasn't so important, and being jeopardised by alcohol, would you have gone back to drinking over the last 10 years if it wasn't for your health?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
Thanks for the honesty there.
Yeah.
But then at some point I would have hit rock bottom and I would have been hospitalised like I was.
Yeah.
And I would have had to address all the stuff that I've had to address with the spending because, as I say, all I did, I just was like, oh, okay, so I can't drink anymore. What will I do that's going to fill that gap, that's going to numb those feelings, that's going to make me feel good, that's going to give me that high that I can easily get access to because, you can't easily get access to a hit of Coke or to, a joint or whatever. I did live in an area where I probably could have got access to that stuff if I wanted it. But,
where is it? Send me the postcode.
No. You're swapping. Then you're just doing what I did. Then you're just doing what I did, swapping one for another. But yeah, it's just, I probably could have done that. But the drug that I chose was spending money because it was easily accessible. But it nearly bankrupted us as a family and it, nearly destroyed my relationship. But, credit to my husband. He stood by me. My parents were able to help us out and we don't, we owe a mortgage, but that's it. We are financially in a better position than we've ever been before. But I had to hit rock bottom and I had to go to hospital and I had to really, get there first. And that could have easily have been booze. It was just that my body rejected the booze before my brain rejected the booze.
When you're spending, can you just paint us a picture? Are you getting the rush when you actually buy the product or give the product?
It's the giving for me. Even now, I will, if I know that a friend is going through a tough time or whatever, I still will buy them something, but it's within the limits of what I can spend or what I'm allowed to spend because and this is going to sound terrible and it's not financial controlling at all, but my husband and I, we have an allowance each and we have the same amount each and that's how we work it and there's no questions asked how that money is spent, and so that and for a long time I didn't even have that. I didn't have access to our bank accounts because he had to learn to trust me again. And I get that, when you're nearly bankrupt and lose the house over your head, there's got to be some parameters put into place. And and that's what happened. And it's hard to admit that like, you know. But yeah, and it was, that was the same as me drinking at night. See, he would also argue that I wasn't an alcoholic. If he was sitting here, he would argue black and blue that I wasn't an alcoholic. But drinking when he wasn't in the house to numb my feelings at the end of the day, because I deserved it, because I'd worked hard with the kids or whatever, it's just the same. Like, it's just the same. He just didn't know. I was hiding that from him because I wasn't drinking in front of him. He genuinely didn't think I drank that much because he didn't see me drinking.
Yeah. I feel like you need to invest in a gift card business, Cath. Because I feel like, do you know what? Like sending someone a card with some beautiful words on it, in my experience, people get so much joy out of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like receiving gifts, but when I love buying cards. In fact, if I'm in a newsagent's or a bookshop and I see a card, I'll just buy it and I'll put it away for someone at the right moment, because there's some cracking cards out there. And my auntie, she always sends us great cards. Birthday cards, whatever cards it is, she always sends it. I remember being a kid going, what card am I going to get from Auntie Janey?
That's so cool.
Yeah, gifted cards is nice. But
love it.
Yeah. Well done for getting through that craving and that wanting to drink, because that is bloody hard. And crying, you like you said before, crying, having people contact you, that's what gets you through it. So well done to you. That's massive great bit of advice for me and for our listeners as well.
Absolutely. Reach out to your sober buddies and, look, sometimes you're going to have mates that are not – sorry, I just lost you on my screen. There we go. Sometimes you'll have mates that they are still drinkers, but they will be your sober buddy. And so just because they drink doesn't mean they can't be your ally. And, drinking in Australia is so freaking normalised. It's not funny. And and you notice it more when you don't drink. And I was listening to one of your pods the other day with Elle, because I used to work with Elle, gorgeous Ellie. She was talking about how like there's this fabulous, alcohol-free market, and there is now. But there wasn't 10 years ago. There was nothing. No. There was nothing, Mineral water, or there was, I don't know if you remember it, but you used to be able to buy it at the supermarket. You still can, but it was Maison.
Mason? Yeah, or Mason.
Maison.
I remember it.
Was Maison.
I remember it.
And I can remember, like, my parents used to buy that for my brother and I when we were little so that we could feel fancy at family dinners when, like, I don't mean every week, but that was like a fancy, like, it might have been a birthday party, or it might have been, but we were little. We were, underage, like 10, 11 or something, So in so many ways, we were normalising alcohol drinking at a really, really, really young age, because you have a drink of sparkling bubbles, just like mum and dad are having a drink of sparkling bubbles. And I'm not blaming my parents for 1 second, My drinking is my thing and my spending is my thing. That's not on anyone else. But as a culture in Australia, we really normalise that a lot. And so, 10 years ago, there was Maison at the supermarket or soft drink. And it really makes me laugh when I look around and, all these people that, like, particularly famous people who I adore and think it's fabulous that they've given up the booze. But I gave up the booze, but I don't think that I look that different to what I looked like 10 years ago. Like, for a lot of people, they don't,
Yeah.
You give up booze.
Yeah. I didn't experience a lot of physical, like from the outside changes. It was, I mean, some people do, but I definitely didn't.
Yeah. And then you feel robbed. Like, you're like, but I gave out the booze and I'm still puffy in the face, or, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I do try not to drink a lot of the alcohol-free. I mean, in saying that, I've got a massive boost card of alcohol-free drinks, and I've got a delivery arriving today of, you know, some Edenvale. Yeah, I've got, I think, what's in it? Edenvale cuvées.
Nice.
Yes.
And I think the spritzer as well.
Yep.
They're Aperol spritz.
Yeah.
I've got some plus minus. That's one of my favourites. Yeah, so I've got a delivery arriving, and so I have it, but I try to keep it for special. Like, I don't do it on a daily, because I think for me, with my personality, it would be very, very easy for me to slip from daily, you know, alcohol-free wine into, or, you know, an alcohol-free rosé to an alcoholic rosé.
Yeah.
That's great. You've got that awareness.
And it wouldn't take a lot, I don't think, you know, if I'm doing that every day. So, you know, that's not to say, you know, I mean, I do love my Gordon's alcohol-free but they come in the bottles. Like,
I've got a couple. Yeah, I've got a couple.
Yeah. And I love them because I can take them with me. I can just have one, you know, that's all I need. But it's still, it can be really challenging though, because what's your alternative? You have a soft drink, which is full of sugar, or a mineral water and lime, and you go, yay, look at me. Clearly the sober one at the party.
It's funny, just circling back what you're talking about, the physical changes. When 10 years ago, my first double in sobriety, when I was off it for 14 months, I was like Chrissy Swan. I dropped 10 kilos. The physical changes in me were extraordinary. Whereas this time around, it hasn't been the same. I haven't lost weight. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is what happened last time. It's interesting, the change in what's happened. Maybe it's an age thing as well. And also talking about that addictive, like Breeza complimented you before as well, that you recognise that if you will replace one addiction with another. I had that recently as well, where I'm like, I just needed a mood changer. I was thinking about having edibles, but if I start that, I know that's just starting another addiction. Like, it would just start again. Like, I could probably have one and then I'd have it earlier in the day, and just to take the edge off, because I was just looking to change the mood, you know? Yeah. So I totally get that. So you sort of touched on it before, but how do you feel about alcohol now?
Oh, look, I'm not going to lie. I miss it, because I look around at my friends. My best friend's her husband is a beer brewer, and her brother is a beer brewer. So we're surrounded by people with alcohol, and like, not just, you know, I'm going to name drop, but her brother owns Young Henry's. So, like, not just a little, name drop. And so, like, name drop an alcoholic name on a booze-free show. But but like, there's a lot of people who make alcohol around me. My husband brews his own beer. He's good mates with my best friend's husband. They're all beer brewers. Now they're getting into brewing gin, or not brewing, distilling gin. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of alcohol around me. And, you know, there's times when when our kids were all our eldest were all turning 18, and my best friend and our eldest kids are the same age. So she's got two that were 18 and I had one. And all the 18th birthdays were happening, and, you know, all the mums were getting on it. Well, not all the mums, her and another friend, and the dads were getting on it. And I'm standing there going, Jesus, I'm missing out. Like, I really, really felt like I was missing out.
Cath, my kids are 8 and 9, and I am already thinking about their 18ths and thinking, what am I going to be like, so I won't get to, I don't know. I'm already thinking like that. So continue. Go on.
Yeah. So, and it was hard, like, you know, and I'm just like, you know, when it was, I think it was her daughter's 18th, and we were mixing up, like I was mixing up, helping mix up the cocktails, and I was just like, oh, I just, and she's like, you're not having one. And even in her drunken state, she's like, you're not having a drink. She wouldn't.
Her.
Yeah. So
do they say that, Cath, because of your health? Or like your
they
liver,
don't want me to.
or they
just
they're
like,
because
you've
the
done
whole thing.
Yep, and they're
Okay.
like, you've done nearly 10 years sober. You are not having a drink at an 18th just so that you can fit in. You fit in anyway. We love you anyway.
Go friends.
Love that.
If you were like wavering a bit and they were like, go on, have one, do you think you'd have one? If they're like, come on, Cath, for old time's sake, let's you know, have a sneaky fruit tingle.
You know what? My bestie loves me so much she wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, that's unreal.
She is, without a doubt, my biggest cheerleader. Bigger than, and I mean, my husband loves me to death. But I reckon if I said to my husband, I'm going to have a drink, he'd be like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, right.
But if I said to Janey, I'm going to have a drink, she's going to go, no, you're not. We're going to go for a walk, or we're going to change the mood, or we're going to change something up. Why do you want to have a drink? She would interrogate me to the nth degree so that I didn't have that drink.
That's
we
amazing.
love you, Janey.
So,
yes, Janey.
Yeah. So, you know, you just need to have that sober buddy or sober ally, because she's a drinker, like, and I love her for it. But the thing, and this is where it is really for me, the core of it is that I don't feel worthy enough to be around people unless I'm doing something for them or that I'm fitting in.
Mm-hmm.
But for her, she's saying, you are 100% worthy to be around. You are 100% enough. You don't need the booze. You don't need to buy me a present. You don't need to bring me anything. You just need to be here.
Oh, is Janey a childhood friend, Cath?
It's really strange how we would have crossed paths a million times because we grew up in the same area. Her husband is the same age as me, went to a school just down the road from me. We all grew up in the Shire. We all used to drink in the same places. We would have crossed paths a million times. And then my son was born 9 weeks early. Her daughter was born 9 weeks early, 5 days apart. I nearly ended up at Royal Women's. So they would have been in NICU beds next to each other, but my son actually turned the corner quicker and he was okay and didn't need to. We were looking at having to airlift him to the hospital and stuff. And there's just all these sliding door moments, and we lived like 600 metres apart from each other in Corrimal, and for like, you know, nearly 18 years, and but then we met online.
Oh, right.
Just, I don't know, Kate doesn't write anymore, but Mrs. Woog, I don't know if you ever followed her, Woog's World, Kate Murphy.
Nah.
She's just, so she's recent. So Kate herself has recently given up booze, and she's one you need to look up, Kate Murphy.
I thought you were going to say someone else. That's why I was like, who is it? Kate Murphy. Okay.
Yeah, Woog's World, or Mrs. Woog, WOOG, but Kate Murphy, KAYTE, and Murphy.
Yeah.
And anyway, but yeah, so we were just like both followed Kate's blog. You know, Kate was one of the original OG mummy bloggers, as they used to like to call us. And she had a Facebook group, and I don't know, we just like clicked in that group, and worked out that we lived near each other, but we didn't realise how near each other we were. We were like 600 metres apart. And, and our eldest kids were the same age, and then so I've got twins, and and her youngest is 6 months older than my twins. And so there was just so many similarities, and it was just, the timing was just amazing, and for both of us. And I can't imagine doing life without Janey now. But yeah, she's absolutely my biggest champion, and
rock solid.
And she's my Tigger, and I'm her Eeyore, and we always say, that, because when I say I'm feeling really down, or I don't want to be here anymore, or it's all too hard or whatever, she will say to me, life with Eeyore is better than life without Eeyore.
I love that. That's gorgeous.
Geez. What's the highs and the lows of sobriety, Cath, for you?
Look, knowing that I'm never going to wake up with a hangover again is like, that is really good. Or knowing that I'm not going to wake up, and I mean, obviously, look, I'm 50 now, so and we've
looking
been
good
married
for 50,
for 21
Cath.
years.
Looking really good for 50.
Yeah.
But, so we've been married for 21 years these days, so I'm not going to go out and do anything really stupid, but knowing that I'm not going to wake up and have done something really stupid overnight, like, those really stupid, shameful moments. And I just, and it's hard, I guess, for my kids, because they kind of look at me and think, oh, Mum, you don't really get it. You. And I was like, no, I actually get it more than you think I get it.
How old are your kids, Cath?
So my son will be 21 in November, and my twins have just turned 17. So
they're probably, they're all.
Yeah. Oh, my son's a drinker. The girls, they're not really interested. We recently had a family wedding, and we said, oh, do you want a drink? And they're like, no. And we snuck someone else was having a vodka and soda, and I was like, yeah, have a drink. And they're like, Mum, you're not meant to be feeding us. So in terms of, like, I don't think that booze is the devil, or the devil's spawn, or anything like that. And if it works for you, it works for you. But I think people need to recognise that it doesn't always work for you, and oftentimes it works against you. The lows, I guess, are, and I think I've said it over and over. I just feel like I'm missing out, and I just feel like I'm not that, the life of the party that I once was. But I'm not sure that I was the life of the party that I think I was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because I was dancing on the bar doesn't mean that I was doing it tastefully. And, like, just because
that's where that shame kicks in, isn't it, the next day?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, did I flash my gash? Like, what happened?
Or, like, who's
do I need to trim my arm off?
Yeah. Who's old mate beside me? Like, what happened? Like, oh, no, it's all right. We're fully dressed. Like, okay, old mate's just
I can so relate,
like,
Cath. I can so relate to all that, because I do miss that, and I do miss that. Getting a bit loose and then just seeing where the night takes you.
Yeah,
that's what I miss.
Yeah,
being Larry.
Yeah, and because I didn't get married till I was sort of just before I was 30. So I had a long time of being out there and loose and having a good time and being a party girl. And I look back and I think, oh, I miss that. But I think I miss what I think it was, not what it actually was.
Yes. We glorify it, don't we? We glorify our drinking days. Yeah.
And also I think I don't think we realise just how stupid we looked, or just how dangerous it was. Or,
you see it from a different lens when you're sober.
Yeah. But and that's not that I'm judging anyone else, because I absolutely, like, my issue or my decision to not drink or to deal with my addictions, that's mine. Like that's for me. That's not, I don't judge anyone else. You know, if you want to get yourself plastered and fall asleep in the gutter every weekend,
go for it.
That's on you.
Yeah.
That's on you. That's not on me.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same, Cath. So you've given us some absolute golden nuggets throughout our chat. Can you summarise for our listeners the best piece of advice or tools for someone who is sober curious or someone who is, battling with alcohol and wants to make a positive change?
So you really need a fabulous support crew.
There's Janey.
You need a Janey, or you need, and I'm dismissing how fabulous my husband is, because
what's his name?
Andrew. So he's fabulous support as well. So you need a fabulous support crew, but you need to know your why that you're doing it.
Love that.
Like if you don't know your why, like if you're just like, I'm just gonna give up the booze, well, you're probably not going to stick to it. Like you're probably not going to, and I can't remember, I know one of you told the story about cracking the verve on the first of freezer. Yeah. So you didn't want to give up booze. You were like, right. I'm doing every single day of me not drinking is a bloody chore.
Yeah, it's white knuckling.
And it's like, I can't wait till I can crack that booze, because your why wasn't, I want to do this for me, or I want to feel better, or I want to, know what life is like without the booze. But, and you've got to know that there's going to be hard times. Like sitting with that negative emotion and sitting with those uncomfortable feelings and owning your own shit is really fucking hard. And I'm not gonna pretend, and you need people around you that are going to hold you accountable to that as well. And that might be that you need to look for paid support. You might need, some people might need to go to AA. Some people might be able to just do it on their own and quit cold turkey. Other people can just do it with their mates, or they can, listen to a ton of podcasts or whatever. But again, like for me, I've done a lot of my journey without podcasts, without, the literature, because it really wasn't there, that the whole movement of getting sober and alcohol free and I guess when I think of getting sober, I mean, whether you're getting off the drugs or you're getting off spending or you're giving up gambling, most people, if you can go in and chuck $20 in the pokies, or and then walk away and not need to go back or whatever, then you don't probably have an issue with it. Or if you have a couple of beers on a Friday night, that's it, like you're probably fine. But if you feel like you need to do that every week, or if you feel like there's a void that's missing when you don't do it. So like when you did the dry July and you were like, I can't wait till I can crack my bottle of verve, you knew probably in the back of your mind, deep down, actually there's probably a problem here, but I'm not ready to address that. And until you're ready to address it, it's not going to happen either. But, there's a ton of stuff and support out there. But some people might need paid support. Some people might need, as I say, AA. But you just need your cheerleaders.
Yeah. Great advice. Love that.
It's a phone fucking with the PH, so we didn't give it F with the call or text. Phone fucking with the PH.
I didn't have a phone when I was drinking.
I was wondering that when you were saying that, when you were talking about walking home.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if she had a phone. But did you have no? So it's even more.
So I did have a phone in terms of that. I've always had a mobile of some sort, but it was an in-car phone. So, like, again, you youngins.
My dad had one, I think.
It was bolted into the car. So, like, it was like, like go gadget kind of thing, But, we didn't have phones. So I'm just trying to think, probably.
What about it? What about, did you ever get on the landline and give someone a spray?
Nah, because I was too busy out having, I just did stupid stuff. I can honestly say that, and I'm not naming any of them, but the first grade footballers that I used to drink with, and there were a lot because my cousins played, we have all had conversations that we are very, very glad that phones with cameras in them did not exist, because I know that everybody thinks that what footballers get up to today is terrible. I can 100% hand on heart tell you that it's tame. And people would go, tame? Todd Carney pissed in his own mouth. Trust me, that's tame.
So if your brain was a memory stick and we took it to the local chemist or to Big W, the pictures it would see that you've got in your mind. Oh, my God.
It's time for the recommendation of the week.
One of my books that is bringing me joy at the moment is Life is Tough, But So Are You. It's a book, Bryony Benjamin, she wrote it. She actually wrote it when she was going through a cancer journey. And it's just one of those books where you can just kind of dip in and out about like all different types of things, So she was going through a cancer journey, but you don't have to be going through a cancer journey. You can be going through anything, So that's
I've written that down. I'm a massive bookworm, Cath, so I've written that one down. So
that'll be part of reading the library.
I love it.
Cath, as we wrap up the show today, where can our listeners find you? And is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No. Oh, look, I think life is tough. That I would definitely say that life is tough, and nothing good is easy. Really, nothing good is easy. You can find me on the gram. It's Cathy _L _O'Brien.
I'll be in the show notes as well.
Yeah, and there's a link in there to all my writing, and I write a lot about mental health, and the first piece one of the first pieces I wrote was that I actually interviewed my school bully. And
wow.
Unreal. Where do we find that one?
There's a link, but I can flick it through to you, and
I love that.
whack it
You
in
did that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And she said sorry.
Wow. What a
didn't change anything for me, but she said sorry.
Well, we love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank
That's
you.
Awesome.
It is. It's amazing. We've so loved having you on today, Cath, really. Like, you've given us such amazing insight into all sorts of addiction. We're okay to be off the booze. Life is hard, and we just so appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
And your honesty, Cath, I really appreciate that, because, sometimes we can get on here and bang on about how great life is without booze. But I think your honesty and, showing that, telling that you do miss booze and you do miss those times.
Yeah.
I appreciate that honesty, because I can relate to. So I know our listeners will be listening and nodding away as well. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Cath.
And if anyone needs a sober ally, reach out. I'm only ever a DM away, and happy to talk you down off that booze ledge if that's what you need, or that spending or gambling or drugs or sex or whatever your particular addiction is. Happy to be there.
Incredible, generous. Thank you, Cath.
Thank you so much, Cath.
Thank you.
Loved our chat.
See you guys.
See ya.
Cath. Bye.
See ya.
Bye. This podcast is proudly produced by our audio engineer, music extraordinaire, Eric Ladd.
We love you, Eric.